This is Techstrong TV.
Hey everybody, Mitch Ashley here at Atlassian Team 24. We have a very special guest. Occasionally I get to spend some time talking to people that play a different but vital role as part of the community. And today I'm joined by Mark Cruth. Cruth. Okay, thank you for that. So you're not Mario, but are you Markio?
You know what? I try to think Markio, it just doesn't roll off the tongue that well. So I still go, I'll go by Markio.
Go Markio.
Markio.
That works. I'll practice it. We'll see. Maybe
you'll catch on, right?
Okay, there you go. Good. I like Markio. So
I love it.
So if you wouldn't have scheduled some time to come talk, I would have gone and grabbed you off the floor.
Right, exactly.
Hey, dude, what's your name?
I have so many questions.
What's the deal? I need to talk to you. So tell us about workplace coach, modern work.
We're modern work plumbers.
Plumber.
Today. Exactly.
Oh,
but yes,
wow.
my role in Atlassian is a modern work coach, and so really, I joke around that they literally said, "What do you want to call yourself? Because you're doing this job. What do you want to call yourself?" I'm just, I want to be a modern work coach. And what it means is I work with our customers, I work with our partners, I just work with the community in general to help them not just look at our products and how to use them, but like how do we solve problems? How do we change our ways of working? And so for me, this year, every year we come dressed as something to try to emphasize this idea. Like what was it, 2 years ago, we were doctors, coats, scrubs, all the, to the nine. Last year we were coaches. We had our Ted Lasso outfits on. And this year we're like, you know what? We need to clean out the work pipelines for so many customers. Like, you know what? We're modern work plumbers. So there's 3 of us wandering around. So if you don't catch me, you'll catch probably one of the other guys.
Did you ever see the movie Brazil as Robert De Niro?
Oh, yes.
He's the HVAC plumber guy.
He is, right?
And it's a living, breathing system.
I know, right? That's
going way back. That's like an 84 movie or some.
Well, it's so fascinating
way back there.
Being a living, breathing system, that's exactly what our customers
That's what made me think of it.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. It's not as simple as, welding some pipes together. It's actually like you have to sense and respond. And so many of our customers, they'll bring in a product or they'll do something and hope that it saves the day at some level. But really, they're just becoming more efficient at doing maybe the wrong thing. Yeah. So for us, we're like, all right, how do we work within that system? Help them find their way of working versus just any way of working.
So often we think the tool is the solution.
Oh, yeah.
The solution is how we work, right?
Exactly.
Changing how we work and the right tool or adaptation of a tool to...
Tools will give good guardrails in my mind.
But it's always the tool we choose. We need a different tool. Call up whoever the tool IT person.
We saw that in the pandemic. Everyone bought all their software to go remote, and they did. And they were, they tried to solve how they did it. But I'm a big believer that most of the return to office, push that's been out there is because these organizations bought a tool, but they never actually figured out how to work remotely. Mm-hmm. They had the tools, but they were like, how do we team when we're not together? And I think that's a big thing that we're still working with our customers on. We're like, cool, what does async communication look like? How do you actually do async communication? Things like that.
I still have a modem, so I can do.
Yeah, there you go.
But a whole another story. So talk about a system of work. That's the big phrase that we're talking about.
I absolutely love that we've aligned on this. So internally in Atlassian, they started talking about this before Team 24, and I got excited because one of the things that system of work does is it recognizes that there is a foundation for how we work as a team and that we build upon that. And that in that system, there are living, breathing pieces of that. Sometimes, as a team, we're always going to have to have that teamwork foundation. And from there, we're going to have tools that support it, but we're going to be looking at things like, all right, cool, how do we work from connecting strategy to execution? How do we create a service mindset? It's less about the tools doing it and more about the problem we're trying to solve.
Mm-hmm. I know Mike in his keynote was talking about the kind of 3 layers of enterprise infrastructure, if you will. I mean, I've got the terms wrong, but there's a lot of conversations about this graph in the middle.
Oh, the teamwork graph?
Teamwork graph. So sounds like a good marketing word.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it is. Right? Maybe it's helpful that way, but talk about what teamwork graph is from your standpoint. How do you help customers understand, no, it's not just a bunch of tasks in Jira and pages and Confluence. It's a lot more.
It's so much more. And really what it is I think what it when I think of the teamwork graph, I almost think of it, it's supposed to be like a blueprint. It's like, it's this image that says, here's how you should think about how you work together. Again, it's not just the products, that's has its place, but it's actually thinking about, cool, what are the foundational practices that we have? How do we cross-team? How do we deal with cross-team collaboration? And so recognizing that we actually have this cross-team need, that's one of the things that the teamwork graph actually starts calling out. It actually goes out there and says, hey, it's no longer just a single team initiative that does something, it's actually multiple teams. And I think that's one of the things I love about us bringing that teamwork graph up in center with this whole system of work.
Sometimes, a lot of times we have redundant functions, or people don't realize that they have very similar work. You could actually make things more efficient or consolidate, collaborate.
Yeah.
How do you present that kind of information to a team so they don't go, oh, it's AI looking to replace my job again. Here we go.
Oh, here it is. I gotta start. I gotta now. Of course,
AI-mageddon is here. Right?
Yep. And that's when people unfortunately start putting up walls. They start kind of hoarding stuff. And so for us, that's where I'm really excited about some of the stuff we're talking about with AI, because we're talking about it as not even a team member necessarily. We're talking about it is the support function. It's going to help get rid of the things that honestly prevent you from actually doing the work you were hired for. We were talking about it yesterday that no one gets hired to go and summarize pages. No one gets hired to do this. People get hired to go be creative, write code, do whatever. And so what we want to look at that for is helping them see what they could actually apply something like AI to. And so for me, when I work with teams, it's really getting clear on actually their own things like roles and responsibilities. We have a play in our team playbook, which is a list of all the practices that we follow at Atlassian, and we put out there for free. Anybody can access it, no email, nothing like that. And one of them is the roles and responsibilities. And it's something I run with teams a lot. And one of the things I'm starting to see now is we actually have a role for AI on that. It's like, all right, cool. We have all different roles in our team. What's the role of AI? How do we want to use it? It is a part of our team, but it's a tool that we use. So let's get intentional about that.
I wonder, in the metaphor of Mario, maybe Robo is the power-up.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, that's what it is.
Yeah, power-ups.
The power, right? Yeah. Exactly. But it really is. It's the superstar power, right? Exactly. It allows you to move through things fluidly without having any issues, right? That's the goal.
So. So talk about, how do you work with customers, or how do you help people? Because as we're talking about, it's really easy to focus on the technology, but it's so much more about how we, I don't know if it's rethinking work, but maybe redesigning and recreating and leveraging what we can do today that we couldn't when we established certain patterns, right?
Well, and it's fascinating because it's for like a big part of my job, about half of my job is working with our customers and like partners and others in the community to actually help them understand, again, the problem they're trying to solve. And then once we solve that, we can show them how they can accelerate that through the tooling. And a great example is I go out there and I work with our customers, I run workshops. Like, I'm a huge facilitator, I love doing these things. And we go in and we dive into like, what are they trying to accomplish? We come out, we sketch out how we could get from point A to point B. And then we say, all right, cool, what tools do we have at our disposal to help us? And you know what? The secret is almost 100% of the time, you've got a tool like Confluence, or you got a tool like Jira or something like that will actually solve that. They just don't know how to use it that way. And so what we do is layer it in. And like one of the most fascinating things I've been doing lately is helping our customers actually collaborate more asynchronously, because they don't know what async work is. They're like, cool, I send emails, that's async, right? It's like, well, yeah, it is, but it's a variation of it. And so one thing we've been doing is helping them think about, well, how do you collaborate continuously as a team on like a page? And so we'll show them, Confluence page edit, where you can get in there, constantly be adding comments, feedback, things like that. And it blows people's minds because a lot of our customers don't realize that they can do that. They're like, oh yeah, we use Confluence for document repository. I'm like, oh, that's like having a Porsche in the middle of New York City, right?
101.
I know, right?
You
Exactly.
Don't do that. There's so much more.
There's so much more. And so for us, when they see that, it blows their mind. And what I like to do too is I show them how we work, because a lot of times, like I was talking to a customer yesterday and they were like, I want to be like Atlassian, like we are death by meetings. We never feel like we get work done. It seems like you guys haven't figured out. And I says, we become very intentional about how we use meetings, how we use tools like Loom to help us have asynchronous, like face-to-face. We do things like Confluence. And I says, it's not that we figured out any magical science. We've just picked some very specific practices that we say, we're going to do it this way. And so like a great example, I brought up Loom. They say, well, how do you do town halls? And I says, well, we used to at Atlassian do weekly town halls where we'd always get together. You wouldn't necessarily get everybody together because we're a global company.
Right, we're all
some people calling in at 1 a.m. just to hear what's going on. What we started doing is we said, all right, instead of having these global town halls, let's have some more, let's like drink our own champagne. We create a Confluence page. Mike and Scott do a Loom video. And then guess what? Everyone can consume that at their own time, and then we can actually collaborate. What I love about it is you go onto these pages, these like State of Atlassian pages that we have, and all the inline comments, the questions, and then the dialogue that happens. We've actually seen, I think it was, the stat was we saw a 60% engagement, less than 60% engagement in our town halls at that point. And that's just people tuning in. We've seen over an 80% engagement on these pages where people are actually like, we can get the analytics. We can see that, oh, people are actually engaging on the content. And I think that's something that when a customer hears it, they're like, oh, I guess we could try it. And I literally challenged the customer yesterday. I'm like, what if your director, instead of doing your bi-weekly team meeting, what if they sent out a Loom and tried this out? And they're like, would anyone die? And he says, no. It's like, why not try it? Let's see if it helps. Come up with a hypothesis here.
The internet won't shut down if we don't
exactly.
have that meeting, right?
Exactly.
At least we hope.
I know, right?
Well, we did have Cloudflare. Michelle was up at
That's true.
It's another great company. I was wondering about Loom as an object in the Atlassian world. Does that kind of fit in anywhere? You can put it on a Confluence page. You can put it in a Jira task or ticket or
that's going to be the
object.
future of what we're looking
That's
at.
what it's
So that's where you see it in like the you'll see it in the announcements that we have. Is the idea is that we bring Loom in, and right now Loom does a great job at integrating just out of the box, where you know with things like smart links. But now the idea is that we want to bring it in and truly integrate it in with Confluence. Now that it's part of the family. Like, let's make it so that way, if I have an issue with something, I can tag it into a Jira ticket. Now I can repeat, steps to create a bug. Because I don't know about you, but like I remember when I was I was a developer at one point. I get a ticket with all these things like this is how you reproduce it, and I'm like, I followed the steps, it didn't work, And so now we can actually associate that easily with a ticket. And so for us, that's where I think the power of Loom's going to come in to integrate into pages, to have that dialogue you would do in Loom, but now actually in Confluence.
Something that I often struggle with as a developer and still do today as an analyst is, I wrote that thing 2 months ago and somebody wants a change to it. Go add something about XYZ into this paper or document or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I got to get my head in that headspace, right? And it sounds like sort of that knowledge catch-up, that context switching cost.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like there's so much information that you've got in Jira and Confluence to say, okay, for this task, and this is where that kind of connected graph comes into play. And by the way, there's 3 people written something on that
There's
topic
something in our data that has this information.
Right.
Where do I go to find it, right?
But you don't think of that.
No.
It's almost, the other thing I thought about is onboarding. How many people are like, I don't feel like I'm productive until about 6 months or a year sometimes.
Especially in a distributed world where maybe you're onboarding remotely. And you got to figure out like, all right, cool.
Who does this, right?
Who does this, right?
And I get tired of asking my sponsor,
I know, you keep asking, right?
They're going to think I'm dumb, but guess what? Natural language.
Now all of a sudden you got Rovo out there, and I think that's one of the big things.
Rovo doesn't judge, I see.
It doesn't.
No judge.
You know what? And what I love about it, so I've been using, we like to practice these tools beforehand. So I've been using Rovo for a little bit inside us, or internally with Atlassian, and it's been fascinating to go through and do just that, where I'm like, I'm trying to answer a question, and I can go do search in Confluence to find it. But I'm like, I know I'm going to get 50 pages that might have some reference to it. Like I'm really looking for a specific answer or something. Like, hey, we deprecated the Jira Mac app years ago, and I was like, why did we do that? And I can ask it that, and it will literally be like, okay, here's what I found. It'll summarize what it found, and then say, here, if you want to reference why, like all that detail, here's the pages. And I think that to me is like, it helps reduce that time we spend searching for information because we've done studies and we've seen that half of our time can get spent just searching. Like, again, goes back to what AI does is it prevents us from doing stuff we don't want.
I mean, there's many things AI can do to help us.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think the ultimate kind of holy grail is if it can just fix my email.
No, I know. If it can realize that, right?
Past the last 5 messages.
I know. If it can integrate across all these tools, which we're starting to see, right? We're starting to see that come about.
Email's not asynchronous. It's just not synchronous.
It's just not
non-synchronous.
It falls into this gray zone. That's why we don't email a lot in Atlassian.
It's just a sync. It's just a sync.
It's so true. So true.
A sinkhole, I guess.
Sinkhole. I like that.
There you go. What's really gotten you going? Obviously, Go is exciting. What else has happened with announcements and things happening at the show?
So some of the things we're doing, and we've got a couple talks we're doing about this, but like we've been talking a lot about this idea of like how do we rethink about the principles of work? And so we're actually doing, we've got a talk, my boss, Don Price, our work futures, he's got a talk tomorrow where he's going to be going into the Modern Work Manifesto. And it's a new kind of concept that we're pushing from Atlassian to say, hey, work has changed. We need some principles to guide us. We need to focus on things like context over content. How do we focus in on, using tools like AI to say we need to get to a specific answer? How do we make decisions around that versus just saying, let's just create all the data, And so we've got essentially 8 principles within that we feel are really important. That's actually one of the reasons we're in this getup is to say, hey, we can think about work differently. And for us, that's what I'm super excited about is sharing that out with folks. Now, from a product perspective, I'm incredibly excited about things like, honestly, bringing goals into Jira. Like, I come from working with executives. Like, that's what my prior life before last. Right, exactly. And it's so many times I'm doing, I can see work and I can see goals and there's nothing connecting together. And
that's a great point,
right?
I was just going to interject about that. Oftentimes, especially in technical organizations, we create measures that are relevant to us. Like how many releases per week can
exactly.
I do? The business is like, why do I care about
why
that?
is that
right?
important? I mean, it's a goal.
That's important. I want to get this capability out to market as fast as possible.
Yep.
Okay, now I know why that's important.
Yep.
But we don't have line of sight to that. So
we don't.
Because there's often, goals cascading that get to that ultimate of like, why are we doing it? So is that something that having those goals could help with?
Honestly, for me, having those types of goals, what you mentioned, actually will enable you to build better solutions too. Because if you write a goal, like to your point, that says we need to be able to release 2 times a week, cool, it's a great goal. We'll do these things, but what was that in service to? Like, what is the reason you're doing that? Is it because, guess what? We've got customers now that need to be able to use updates in our software continuously. Okay, so the goal actually wasn't 2 times a week. You just made up that arbitrary number. You would like to have continuous release.
Exactly.
It's like, and so for me, it helps teams actually sit back and make a better solution because so often, again, we don't have that line of sight of what the business is trying to solve. And so that translation doesn't happen. So now if I can connect that together, all of a sudden I feel like, all right, maybe I'm going to make a recommendation that this, Jira epic, we change what it's supposed to be because guess what? The goal of it is actually this.
Right. As opposed to, it kind of feels like a vanity metric if you don't understand why. Why is that? Why is 2? Whatever the goal is important. Now I get it. Okay. Because it's more than just releasing. There's some things I can do to.
It's all the side
upstream to help with that or whatever.
And that's where I used to do a lot of work with teams from like an agile coaching perspective. And the biggest thing I continue to do, and I still do it today, even in my role as a modern work coach, when I work with our customers, is to say, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Like, let's answer that. Like, cool, I want to do this. Awesome. Why? Like, what's the thing that you're trying to do? And then at that point, we can actually really start getting started because otherwise you've already got bias in terms of what you're doing and you may or may not hit the right answer.
A question for you. It's kind of stated, but not like super explicit. It seems like there's been a lot of work around the user experience across all the products. So it isn't such a hard line crossing into I'm working in Jira, and if it's interface and I don't know where to find Rovo, how does that work? But in the context switching between those different products, seems like that's getting much more seamless.
It's one of those things where I like to say to our customers, I want you to be able to use our tools in a way where you don't think about us, honestly. If you don't think about Atlassian once in a day, but you're using our tools, actually, that's a success because guess what? That means the tools are so simple for you. You move across, whether it be Jira to Confluence to Rovo, whatever it is, and it's just, you do your work, I think about it as many of the operating systems out there. We just do it. We don't think, I'm in Microsoft today, and I'm in Windows. I want you to think about us as that foundation of just how I do teamwork. Mm-hmm. And that's honestly what a UI will help us do, a unified UI.
Are you planning your character for next year?
You know what? I'm starting to think about it. I'm always open to recommendations, though. So we're gonna have to see what we're coming out with, what some of the themes are. But like I said, I like to commit to the extravagant.
Maybe Guardians of the Workflow.
Ooh, you know what?
You'd make an awesome Rocco.
Oh my God, yes. I like. You know what? I've got Dom Price. Is this big guy? I can see him as what's his name?
The big guy.
I know the green guy, right? Whoever it is. Yeah. I'm gonna be thinking about. Yes, he's already gonna be him.
I'm
already
sure somebody would want to play Zoe. What's her name?
No, right? Exactly.
Lady. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. No. Yeah, we do some of those things too.
I love that. Actually, I think this might be a good approach. So we'll have to talk next year.
You put cosplay on your resume. Corporate cosplay.
Corporate cosplay. I will admit, on the side outside of Atlassian, I do the same.
You do. Yeah, we'll shoot that video another time.
Well, exactly.
That's all good. Good stuff. Hey, thanks a lot, Mark.
Thanks so much. Great talking
with you, and thanks for making it entertaining to talk about.
Hey, it's all about
having fun. We do every day, and we want to make better.
I love it.
All right, great. Thanks to Mark for joining us. Mark Hill from the work. What is it?
We're the
modern work plumbers. Okay, he's just a little low. I can't read it. So thanks for Mark for joining us, and great conversation. So we'll be back with some other great talks coming right up. So stay tuned. Hope you watch that video with us again.